Hey, what is up, everyone? Thanks for visiting my YouTube channel and welcome to Movie Review Mom. I'm the mom and I review the movies. Thank you so much for subscribing, and be sure and ring that little bell and it'll notify you every time I upload a new movie review or trailer reaction, which is almost every single day. So I appreciate your support. It actually really helps my channel to grow when you subscribe, when you like the videos, when you comment down below. Those are all really simple, free things that you can do to support my channel. And I really do appreciate it. All right, let's get started. The movie I'm reviewing today is called F9, or Fast and Furious 9, or Fast 9, or the Fast Saga 9, whatever you want to call it. I think generally it's called F9. It's available on June 25th, 2021, only in select theaters in the United States. In the UK, it won't be released until July 8th, and no streaming platforms or dates have been announced yet. So if you want to see this movie, you have to go to the theaters, at least for a little while. However, the movie actually already opened in China to box office sales of $162.4 million, or the equivalent of $1 million. Anyway, that's pretty impressive. The movie is PG-13. The length is 2 hours and 25 minutes, which is a pretty long movie. And it's actually the longest movie in the entire Fast and Furious franchise. All right, so I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell. I'll point out things I liked and didn't like. I'll give you tips for parents, themes worth talking about, and even give you some recommendations for other movies that I think you'll also really like if you like this one. Okay, let's dig in. In a nutshell, the Fast Saga continues. Installment number 9. Fans of this franchise are always excited for another sequel. Some of our favorites are back in this movie, along with some characters that we don't know that we get to know. What this franchise does extremely well, I think, is blend high octane action with heart. In this 9th edition of the story, Cypher enlists the help of Jacob. Now, we've seen these two characters before. Dom's younger brother is Jacob, and I'll talk more about him in just a minute. Anyway, they combine to take revenge on Dom and his invincible team. And the word invincible is intentional because this movie really pokes fun at itself for the fact that this team of Fast and Furious has gone through many, many missions completely unscathed. Well, almost completely, but really with hardly a scratch on them. And they kind of make fun of themselves and poke fun of that in the movie, which I think is both appropriate and delightful. So the movie is written and directed by Justin Lin, along with some screenplay help by Daniel Casey and Alfredo Botello, and the characters that are created by Gary Scott Thompson. Justin Lin hasn't directed a Fast movie since Fast and Furious number 6, clear back in 2013. So he's back, and people are really excited about that. It's also the very first film in the series since Too Fast, Too Furious to not be written by Chris Morgan. So there were plenty of things that I really liked about this movie. First of all, the cast is always a lot of fun and features Vin Diesel, who always looks great. Although he plays the exact same character in every movie he ever does, even outside of the Fast franchise, he's great at what he does, and I always get a kick out of his performance. In the opening sequence, you get to see a race, meet some of the characters, and watch a car explode. Not bad for the first 4 minutes of the movie. Michelle Rodriguez looks awesome and has the kind of bicep we first saw on Linda Hamilton back in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Do you remember that, when she had really worked out and everybody was like, whoa, look at her? Well, that's kind of how I felt when I first saw Michelle Rodriguez in one of the opening scenes. My fantasy is to have sculpted biceps like that someday. The cast is diverse as always and also includes Jordana Brewster, who's a big surprise for some fans, Tyrese Darnell Gibson, Ludacris, Natalie Emmanuel, Charlize Theron, who's gorgeous always, Finn Cole, and Sung Kang, who plays Han. And they make some jokes about him being Han Solo. And there are some other jokes about Star Wars as well. Also, we get John Cena. I like him whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. I'm just such a fan. We get to learn a little bit about his backstory with Finn Cole playing his younger self. Now, my only complaint about John Cena's performance was that he had kind of a robotic face of steel the entire film. He was just like, intense face. There are some delicious cameo performances by Helen Mirren, Kurt Russell, Bad Bunny, Cardi B, Gal Gadot, and so many more. You always get to travel to fun, exotic, new destinations in this franchise. And this installment is no exception. So I think you'll get a kick out of going to some of those places. There are also some really respectful, sweet nods to past characters and storylines. The franchise always does a great job trying to step up the action and stunts and outdo themselves. Even Gina Rodriguez's character said after a crazy stunt, "Well, that was new." What I love is that the movie doesn't take itself too seriously, and it shouldn't, with some really funny visual gags and some lines that poke fun at the movie itself. Some of the stunts are so ridiculous and defy the laws of physics that they actually made me laugh out loud, and I was completely entertained. Even Tyrese Gibson's character talks about all of these crazy missions that they've been on and still survived. And he says, "We're not normal." And he kind of starts talking like, maybe we're invincible, maybe we're superheroes. And then the other characters are kind of playing along and then they just laugh. Anyway, there's more conversation about that in the movie, which I got a kick out of. The franchise fully embraces the insanity. And if you don't expect any level of reality, then you're going to enjoy the fun flick. If you're like, no, that's just not realistic, well, then you would have stopped watching this franchise long ago. The CGI is impressively good, especially considering all of these over the top stunts that and action sequences that are shown in the movie. The cinematography is also really good. It's impressive how the camera can film, for example, a shiny reflective helmet without showing the camera, on the reflection. Little details like that. I was like, wow, that's impressive. There's a banging soundtrack, as always, and as to be expected. And I always get a kick out of when movies reference other movies. And so, as I mentioned earlier, in this film, they talk about characters in Star Wars and superhero movies in general. And it just makes me laugh. So here's a fun fact, or maybe I should say a sad fact. Red Digital Cinema paid a ton of money to have their Hydrogen One smartphone featured in the film. But sadly, poor sales resulted in the companies discontinuing the product before the movie was even released. So, wah wah. There are some really entertaining set pieces and tons of set pieces. It's been announced that the Fast and Furious 11 will be the last installment in this franchise, although I'll bet we'll have a reunion movie in another 10 or 20 years. This movie takes some time to kind of set things up for the last two films that are going to be ending this long running saga. And it kind of shows there are some loose ends that you can tell will be tied up in the next two movies. So let me share some things that I didn't like or thought could have been handled a little bit better. First of all, I think there's a little bit of a confusing plot with too many side stories requiring a lot of exposition, trying to catch people up to speed on what happened in the past, what's happening in the present, even, and relating why that's important and what's going to happen next. So, exposition is never very good in movies because it kind of pulls the energy down. And in a movie like this, you don't want that to happen. Sadly, there was some kind of a rift between Tyrese Gibson and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And Tyrese, in fact, said that he wouldn't be in the film if Dwayne Johnson was. So Dwayne Johnson passed on the script. So Tyrese was thrilled and, of course, is now in the movie. And that's such a shame. I hate to see franchises like this kind of be segmented by personality conflicts and whatnot. Surprisingly, there are far fewer car moments than in previous movies in this franchise. Cars seem to be only one of the many tools that these fast team turned superheroes use to fulfill their mission, kind of like an Avengers movie, really. The fast drivers also kind of turn into spies, which seems to be pushing fans away because it's really not the heart of the fast and who those characters are and the whole and what the whole franchise is. There are cars in outer space. I mean, come on. They try to top each movie, and I guess they figured, well, we haven't been in outer space yet. So that part of the movie I just thought was ridiculous and laughable. And honestly, the two characters who go to space really are the comic relief for the movie anyway. But again, it just sort of was pushing it even farther than I was, thinking was entertaining. I mean, it was entertaining. It was just kind of ridiculous. The ending is very predictable and very formulaic and true to all of the endings in all of these movies. Newbies to this franchise might not be convinced to be fans. However, they'll probably still be entertained by the action, even if they don't really know all the backstories of the characters or have even fallen in love with the characters or even get some of the inside jokes and the references to the former movies. So now let me give you some tips for parents. First of all, young kids, I think, are going to be pretty bored unless they're totally into cars. They certainly won't understand the story. There are lots and lots of explosions with people in perilous and sometimes fatal situations. Super high body count in this movie. There's some profanity, but because it's PG-13, it's not nearly as bad as it would have been if it were rated R for sure. People get in fist fights. There's some Spanish spoken without subtitles, so you don't really know what's going on there, and kids certainly won't. There are crimes that are committed many times, kind of glorifying criminals and bad behavior type of stuff. There's lots of destruction with little regard for property or life. So there's your heads up for parents. However, there are some themes that are illustrated well, and they include heart, having heart, being true to your heart, luck, trust, teamwork, unity, and loyalty, family. And that refers to not only blood relatives, as Dom's brother becomes a real big part of this story, but also the fast friends, the friends that are on this team that are so loyal and true to each other and have created their own family. And then legacy, because you also get to learn a little bit about Dom and his brother's father and what kind of began the whole love affair with cars. So I always write down funny lines and interesting lines whenever I watch movies, and I include them in my written review at moviereviewmom.com. And so I wrote down a funny line. I'll share one with you right now. It's spoken by Tyrese Gibson, and he's driving up to Dom's house, and Dom doesn't know who it is. He doesn't recognize the car. So he's got his gun ready to shoot, thinking, it could be a bad guy. And so you see hands come out of the car, like in the shape of a heart, and he's like, oh, wait, wait, wait. You don't recognize me because I've been tanning all week, bro. And it's Tyrese Gibson. So I just thought that was kind of cute. And then there are a bunch of interesting lines. And at one point, Letty, who's played by Michelle Rodriguez, says, this isn't who we are. And again, that's a reference to the heart of these characters, the heart of the movie, and the type of people they've been in the past, the decisions they've made, and who they want to be now, and decisions that might be pulling them away from that. So I thought that that was kind of interesting. And as Letty is talking to Dominic, Dominic asks her, you miss the old life? And she says, do you? And he says, every day. I thought that that was interesting too. All right. So, with all of the praise and the few little critiques, the movie review mom grade I'm giving this film is a B. Now, it's pretty silly, and you absolutely get what you think you will. So, if fans are expecting the high octane action, they're definitely going to get that. Plus, how could I give a movie less than this grade after all of the hard work that they made on this movie? I mean, you can tell that it is a passion project. You would think that some of these actors would be phoning it in still, but they are still giving it their all. And the whole crew seems to really be working hard on the film. And I admire that. I absolutely respect that. Now, I know there are some fans that are disappointed with the story and the direction that this has gone in. Um, so I would really love to hear your response to how good is this movie and what did you think? Comment down below. I love it when we get good conversations going. And this is just my opinion. I've never made a movie. I'm just trying to give you my review from a mom's perspective. So I would love to get your perspective on this film. All right. So before we go, let me give you some recommendations for some other movies that I think you'll also really like. So the first one is, of course, the original Fast and the Furious. So if you haven't seen that one, go back many years and check that one out. Some of the films in the franchise are definitely better than some of the other ones, but this is kind of a fun one to start with the very origin story or the original in the whole franchise. Another movie that kind of came to my mind, probably based on this backstory of the father and the sons and the love of racing, is a movie called Rush. So check that one out. And by the way, click down below and I've got links to all of these movies and a coupon for a free 30-day trial on Amazon if you want to watch them on Amazon Prime. Another movie is Need for Speed, which is a lot of fun. And then finally, another one is Death Race with Jason Statham. Lots of racing, minimal story, but just some high octane fun and entertainment. All right, that's it for my review. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. And as always, thank you for your support. And I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.